Tonight, we present the famous Mr. Chameleon of Central Headquarters in his most famous cases of crime and murder. Brought to you by the makers of Bayer Aspirin. For those who do not know who Mr. Chameleon is, we give a quick sketch of his character. Born of a well-to-do family and a college man, he tried from childhood to live up to the name he bore, Chameleon, by taking on the color of whatever situation in which he found himself. Appearing in endless guises, finally entering the police force, where he became known as Chameleon, the man of many faces, the underworld's most dreaded man. Throughout this series, the listener will invariably know who Mr. Chameleon is, no matter in which disguise he appears, but the criminal he's tracking seldom does. Tonight, we give you Mr. Chameleon and the case of the dead woman's eyes. Our story opens in the ornate drawing room of the Walters mansion. A monumental pile of stone in the East 60s, and despite the summer heat, the room is cool and shadowy. So cool that Mrs. Walters, middle-aged patrician, shivers a little. Or could it be from anger? Anger and a strange fear which shows in her voice as she says to the person across from her,
I can't believe that you, of all people, would do this to me. My husband trusted you, and so did I. And now I find that you've been stealing from me. Don't deny it. You've been stealing. Oh, really, this makes me ill. Where are those soda mint tablets? The ones you gave me the other day. Oh, there, on the mantel. Give them to me, please. Thank you. They always help. Oh, that's queer. They taste so bitter. What have you given me? What have you given me? Wait! Help me! Help!
Mrs. Walters! Mrs. Walters, answer me! Mrs. Walters!
Mrs. Newell, what's the matter? What is it? Why did you... Mother!
Oh, Miss Phyllis, don't look. Please don't look. Her face... Miss Phyllis, I'm afraid your mother is dead.
And now at Central Headquarters in the office of the Commissioner of Police. With him is the famous Mr. Chameleon, the man of many faces, the underworld's most feared man.
Hello, Commissioner. Do you want to see me?
Yes, Chameleon, I have some news for you.
Oh, bad, no doubt.
Bad for Mrs. Walters. Mrs. Harrison P. Walters. She's dead. Committed suicide.
What? I can't believe that.
Is that your considered judgment?
Well, it's my unconsidered judgment, based on number one. I saw her just last night at the St. Regis Hotel with her daughter and a Mr. Lucas. Mm-hmm. I went over to her table. She seemed perfectly healthy, perfectly happy.
Go on. You said that was reason number one.
Well, there is no reason number two. Good Lord, Commissioner, that woman had everything. She was on top of the pile. How'd she do it?
Poison. It seems for some time she'd been carrying these pills around with her that everyone thought was soda mints. Turned out they weren't.
Who found the body?
Her housekeeper, Mrs. Newell. She heard her cry out. When she reached her, she was dead. And alone in the room. What else but suicide?
Funny. I've known so many of them, neurotics, potential suicides. But I would swear that Mrs. Walters... Well, that she would never give in to the particular kind of despair that leads to suicide.
Well, get over there, will you? Dave Arnold's already there, but you know these people socially. Sort of circulate among them, unobtrusively. Sort of take on their coloring.
Hmm? You mean live up to my name, Chameleon? All right, Commissioner. You know something? It is now my considered judgment that Mrs. Harrison P. Walters did not commit suicide. Hello, Detective Sergeant Dave Arnold.
Dave to you, Mr. Chameleon. I thought you'd be along. Some swell place, this, huh?
How's it going?
Open and shut. Case of simple suicide. You, want to look at the body?
Mm-hmm. Of course, Dave, violent death is seldom simple. Oh, wait just a moment. I want to speak to the young daughter, Miss Walters. Miss Walters?
Yes? Oh, Mr. Chameleon, I heard you might be here. But why? Why did they have to send for you?
They always send for Mr. Chameleon, darling. How do you do, sir? I'm Arthur Lucas.
Yes, I remember. We met last night.
Yes, I didn't realize at the time you were the famous detective.
Well, that's because I'm rather, let's be charitable and call it nondescript.
Well, on the contrary, I'd say you're most distinguished looking.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chameleon, this is a frightful tragedy.
Yes, frightful. I was most shocked when I heard about your mother, Miss Walters.
I know. It's so awful to think she wanted to die.
Well, perhaps she didn't. It's surprising how few of us do.
But, Mr. Chameleon...
Will you excuse me, please? I must examine the body. Dave?
Yes, sir.
Have you those tablets Mrs. Walters carried with her?
Mm-hmm. Right here. Well, what are you doing?
I'm just turning back her eyelids. She died in agony, all right. Let's have one of those tablets. I want to break it open.
Oh, we know they're poisoned.
Oh, there are poisons and poisons, and Good Lord.
Well?
What is it?
Mr. Chameleon.
Miss Walters? Your mother was murdered.
Oh, but that's impossible. She took those tablets herself.
I'm sorry she was murdered. By a very rare and unusual poison from Rhodesia. I didn't even know there was any in this country. Your mother, I'm sure, would have had no access to anything quite so difficult to obtain.
But, Mr. Chameleon, it's fantastic. A rare and deadly poison hardly known in this country. No, it's too fantastic.
Nothing, Mr. Lucas, is too fantastic for the criminal mind.
Yes, but a poison like this, if it's so hard to get...
Well, there must be some hidden somewhere, a secret supply.
But who would want to kill Mrs. Walters? What would be the motive?
What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what...
Arthur?
Oh, Ralph, I didn't hear you come in. Mr. Chameleon, this is my partner, Ralph Crane.
Mr. Chameleon, the detective?
You sound slightly incredulous.
Well, you're such a well-known investigator.
Very glad to know you, Mr. Crane. Mr. Lucas here was just about to give me a motive for Mrs. Walters' murder, and I...
Mr. Chameleon.
Yes, what is it, Dave?
The housekeeper. They checked up on her. And who do you think she is? Her name isn't Newell at all. It's Schultz, the mother of Jim Schultz.
The one at Sing Sing?
That's it. He's serving a life term for murder, and he used to handle uncut diamonds that were smuggled in from Africa.
Rhodesia?
That's it. He could have given her the poison.
Mr. Chameleon, that's what I started to tell you. Mrs. Walters was afraid of her, this Mrs. Newell, or Schultz, or whatever her name is. She thought she'd been stealing securities and money out of the library safe.
When did she tell you this, Mr. Lucas?
Just the other day. Ralph and I, as you know, were her advisors. She confided in me particularly. I was very close to her and Phyllis. And she told me she'd been suspicious of Mrs. Newell for some time. Isn't that right, Ralph?
Yes, that's right.
I hate to tell you this, but I feel I must. I feel you and I should be working together.
Yes, that's very nice of you, Mr. Lucas.
Well, what do you say, Mr. Chameleon? Shall we take her down to headquarters? You've got to admit the evidence is all against her.
I know the evidence is all against me, but I didn't kill her. I couldn't have, no matter how strong the evidence.
Mrs. Newell, over my desk there hangs a motto. The innocent must be protected. The guilty must be punished.
And you believe that?
I try to live by it.
But suppose I can't prove my innocence.
If you're innocent, Mrs. Newell...
I tell you I am.
If you're innocent, it shall be proven. And if you're not, I'm afraid that will be proven also.
Mr. Chameleon, you mean you're holding Mrs. Newell?
Yes, for questioning, Miss Walters. You see, we have to. The evidence is very, very strong against her.
Oh, it seems so awful. I don't know who to trust or not to trust anymore. Except Arthur, Mr. Lucas. With him, I feel safe.
Yes, you're marrying him very soon, aren't you?
Yes, at the end of the week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I didn't think it was that soon. However, you've been hurt and badly frightened. It's only natural, I suppose, for you to run to a safe haven.
Oh, that's so true, Mr. Chameleon. He's a good deal older than I am, but that makes me even less afraid.
Yes, I'm sure your mother felt that way about him, too.
Yes, he was wonderful for both of us.
All right, Miss Walters, that's all. Would you please send in Detective Sergeant Dave Arnold? He's out in the hall. Goodbye.
Oh, Detective Sergeant Arnold, Mr. Chameleon wants you.
Okay, Miss Walters. Thanks.
You shut the door, please, Dave. Dave, tell me, what do you think of this Arthur Lucas?
Lucas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's one of those big shots down on Wall Street. He and that Crane guy. Investment counselors. Why do you ask?
Without even realizing it, he may have information in his office that would give us a lead. You see, he suspects Mrs. Newell. He told me that. And after all, her son is in Sing Sing. Now, how do we know that she isn't the front for a ring? I'd like to look around that place.
Oh, that's easy.
Well, I mean without their knowing I was doing it. If they knew, they might let something slip. They'd be there, all right, but they wouldn't know me.
You mean you'd go in there looking like somebody else?
Mm-hmm. Why not, Dave? Anyone would think this was a new routine. Is my name Chameleon? Of course I want to go in there in disguise.
But so help me, this time I don't think you'd get away with it. Those are smart men, Mr. Chameleon, and they've met you. No, sir, this time you couldn't get away with it.
Look, Dave, it's not a case of assuming a disguise. It's a case of feeling like another person as well as looking like another person. Lucas is the sharper one of the two, but there is some particular disguise that would work with him, too. There always is, Dave. There always is. Oh, that reminds me.
Yeah?
When you're through questioning that housekeeper, Mrs. Newell, you let her go, please. But have someone tailor. Keep an eye on her.
And how?
I wonder what sort of disguise would fool Arthur Lucas. I wonder, Dave.
For heaven's sake, Ralph, relax, will you? You're driving me crazy with that endless pacing.
Well, what do you want me to do, Lucas? I'm worried sick about those account books.
I'm worried about them, too, but nobody's asked to look at them yet. And even if they are a bit irregular, it doesn't mean we're murderers.
Listen, Lucas, Chameleon's like all cops, despite his yelling that the innocent must be protected. If he got in here, he might fake the evidence against us.
And what makes you so sure he'll get in here, as you call it?
Are you kidding? Any moment, that door may open and he may walk in and we wouldn't even know it.
I'd know it.
You think you're that much smarter than all the others he's tricked?
I'm smart enough not to let Chameleon's reputation throw me into a state of helpless hysteria. I've talked to the man. I've looked him straight in the face.
And what does he look like? Can you recall his features?
He's extremely handsome.
What's the color of his eyes?
I don't know, but if you think that some childish
Listen to
disguise...
me. Art Kavanaugh was a smart operator. Chameleon got him by posing as a confidence man. And the case of that fake insurance ring, he got them all by pretending he was a man over 80. And that actress who killed her husband, he got...
Oh, excuse me. I thought you gentlemen was gone.
Not yet, in about an hour.
Oh, okay. I'll be back.
Who was that?
New charwoman? Did you think it might be Chameleon?
Now, don't laugh.
Listen, Ralph. I'm worried about the books, too, but I'm hanged if I'll show it. As for Chameleon, he won't get away with a thing. I'll recognize him. He won't have a chance.
Mr. Chameleon and the case of the dead woman's eyes continues in just a moment. The next time you have an ordinary headache and want quick, reliable relief, remember this. No headache tablet is ready to go to work until it has dissolved in your stomach. And because genuine Bayer aspirin starts disintegrating within 2 seconds, it's ready to go to work almost at once. Now, to actually see Bayer aspirin's remarkable disintegrating action, simply drop one of these tablets in a glass of water. Before it reaches the bottom of the glass, the tablet will start to disintegrate. You'll have visual proof that Bayer aspirin is ready to go to work almost instantly, because what it does in the glass, it does in your stomach. In addition to giving you relief that's so fast you'll be amazed, Bayer aspirin is also reliable. You see, Bayer aspirin has been used without ill effect by millions of normal people. When you buy, ask for it by its full name, Bayer aspirin. Never by the name aspirin alone. Get the 100-tablet bottle and you get Bayer aspirin tablets for less than a penny apiece. Now back to Mr. Chameleon and the case of the dead woman's eyes. It is the following morning, and in the police commissioner's office at Central Headquarters, Mr. Chameleon is leaning across the commissioner's desk, and there is no mistaking the excitement he feels.
This is it. I'm sure of it, Commissioner. It feels right, and therefore it's going to look right.
But how are you going to do it, Chameleon?
Oh, a round-shouldered stoop, as if I'd spent most of my life bending over books.
Mm-hmm.
Glasses, gray hair, shabby clothes, and most of all, a deep-seated bitterness, because I feel that I'm underpaid with all the mouths that I have to feed.
Well, that's a nice little note, considering you're a bachelor.
No, Mr. Chameleon's a bachelor. Mr. Harry Mitchell is a very good husband and father. So go ahead, Commissioner, call them, will you? Tell them that you're sending over a police auditor to look at their books.
Hello? This is Mr. Lucas. Oh, yes, Commissioner. You what? Well, you really consider that necessary?
What's the matter?
Well, of course I'll be only too glad to cooperate. When will he be here? Tomorrow morning? Fine. Goodbye, Commissioner.
Are they sending over an auditor?
Yes, he says they're interested in how much Mrs. Newell stole.
I knew it. I knew they
Be
would.
quiet, I want to think.
A lot of good that'll do.
Will you be quiet? Perhaps I can manage him.
How?
The usual way.
Well, maybe you can. But I know one thing. You couldn't handle Chameleon that way. And here we sit, just waiting for him. When he gets closer and closer, just waiting. For all we know, he's already here.
Will you quit that?
No, I won't. We have a new elevator man, that new charwoman. This building's full of new people, and any one of them may be Chameleon. Well, they may be.
I said I'd recognize Chameleon. Meanwhile, I'll take a look at that new elevator man. Is he on now?
Yes, he is.
I'll be back in a few minutes. And if I were you, I'd calm down a bit.
Thinks he's so clever. He'll know Chameleon. Well, I know him, too. I spotted him yesterday. I won't be dismissed as an hysterical fool. What's that? What the devil are you doing in here?
Well, I'm cleaning the office.
Are you? You don't say. Well, you're always around pretending to clean and eavesdropping.
Oh, no, sir.
Don't give me that. You were eavesdropping just now, and you probably heard plenty. But you won't get away with it. You won't get away with it, Chameleon. I know you.
Oh, no!
Lucas, I thought it was Chameleon. I really did. I thought he had overheard us. Is she dead?
Yes, you stupid fool.
What are we going to do?
Fortunately for us, the offices around us are all closed. But even so, we can't get her out of the building. And with the police coming in tomorrow, you fool, I could kill you.
We'll have to think of something.
We will think of something.
You might have done the same thing.
If I did, my dear Ralph, I'd get the right man.
All set, Mr. Chameleon? Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, I am, Dave. Sergeant Arnold.
So help me, you seem to have shrunk to half your size.
It's the suit. A couple of sizes too large for me.
Well, I'm glad I'm not in it. Or in your shoes, either. Hey, that's funny. There's the office, Lucas and Crane, but the door's open a little.
Do they usually keep it closed?
Huh? Oh, I wondered where that voice was coming from. Yeah, they usually do. Tight closed.
Then perhaps there's something there they want someone to discover. This pretty early. They may not be here yet.
Yeah. Better let me go in first. Holy smoke! Look! She's dead. The old charwoman's dead, and the office has practically been torn apart.
This is horrible. The motive must have been robbery. See, they've rifled my desk. I suppose that poor charwoman walked in on them while they were doing it.
And got blasted in the face, Mr. Lucas.
Yes, Sergeant Arnold.
What time did you leave last night?
Oh, about 6 o'clock, right after the commissioner called me to say the auditor was coming. Who's that sitting over there in the corner?
Oh, that's the auditor. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes? I was wondering how long I was going to have to sit there.
I'm sorry. Mr. Lucas, this is Mr. Mitchell, our police department auditor.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
When can I start going over the books, may I ask, or do I have to waste a whole day?
Look, we had to take the body away, didn't we? Anyhow, we're all through here now, so stop beefing. When can he start, Mr. Lucas?
Anytime he wishes to.
Okay, what more do you want, Mitchell? I'm going now, Mr. Lucas. I've got to report to headquarters.
Very well, Mr. Arnold. I'll take care of Mr. Mitchell.
So long, Mitch.
Goodbye. And the name is Mitchell. They make me sick. Not one of them could do the kind of work I do, yet they treat me as if I were of no importance.
Well, I should think you'd be extremely important to the police.
Thank you. I'm glad someone feels that way, Mr. Lucas.
Don't you find police auditing interesting work?
I might, if I was paid properly. I happen to have a family, 3 children, Mr. Lucas, 3 children on my salary. Well, I won't go into that.
Sit down for a moment.
If you don't mind, I'll move around while I can. I'll be sitting all day over your books. Yes, and that's another thing. I never get any exercise or fresh air. What are you staring at?
You?
Why?
Just looking you over, sizing you up. I like to size up anyone who works for me in any capacity.
Well, it makes me uncomfortable. Wish you wouldn't do it.
I'm simply trying to make up my mind about you.
In what way? In what way?
I'll tell you now. I've reached a decision about you.
Well?
You and I can do business together, can't we?
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Mitchell, I agree that you're probably atrociously underpaid, and with a family to think of, it just isn't right.
No, it certainly is not.
Perhaps I could make up to you a little for the injustice.
I beg your pardon?
Shall we say a very substantial bonus, if I'm pleased with the way in which you audit my books? You could use a bonus, couldn't you?
Yes. Yes, I could. Thank you very much.
Not at all, Mr. Mitchell. The pleasure's all mine. You told me exactly what I wanted to hear.
There it is again, that same board. That must be loose. It must be.
Oh, Mr. Mitchell, I'm going out for a little while. My partner should come in. I'll be back within the hour.
Yes, Mr. Lucas.
How are the books coming?
Fine, fine.
Seems to me you've been walking around a great deal.
Just stretching my legs a little from time to time.
Well, stretch them all you want. I'm going to meet my fiancée. I'll be a married man, too, in a couple of days.
Congratulations.
Thank you. See you later.
But not too soon, I hope. Now, where is that board? I've got to do it now. Where is it? Here, I should say. That's the one. Let's see if I can pry it loose. This knife ought to do it. Yes, it is loose. There we are. There's something underneath it. A small white envelope. The poison.
Mr. Mitchell, I met my partner out in the hall.
Mitchell, what are you doing?
I dropped something. I was looking for it.
He's lying. He's got that board pried up.
Chameleon, so that's it. Well, Mr. Chameleon, I guess this is one time when I'll have to use my gun whether I like them or not.
Sorry, Mr. Lucas. I was a little quicker with the gun than you were.
My hand, it's bleeding.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well,
stay where you are, Ralph Crane. I'll pick that gun up. There we are. Now we can talk.
Why didn't you move faster, Lucas, you stupid idiot? Why'd you give him time to pull his gun?
Shut up.
You heard Mr. Lucas say that he disliked guns. Gun is such a vulgar weapon, isn't it?
Now, look here, Chameleon. Just because you found that...
Poison? Yes, poison's the word. Which you used on at least 3 women beside Mrs. Walters.
I didn't kill Mrs. Walters. I wasn't with her when she died.
You mean, don't you, that you left by the French windows and out through the garden so that Mrs. Newell was alone in the room when Phyllis found her? Well, never again will you be able to exploit women and then kill them when they begin to ask questions, Mr. Lucas. But, is that really your name? You've had at least 10 that I know of.
What?
Oh, yes, Lucas. Bigamist, murderer, world traveler, starting in Rhodesia many years ago with a small-time crook as a partner. Isn't that right?
How'd you know all this?
My dear Lucas, the police all over the world have been after you for years. But you covered your trail very, very beautifully. We had no evidence against you.
You wouldn't have now if he hadn't fallen for that disguise of yours, Chameleon.
It's a good one. You would have fallen for it too, Crane.
Yes, 'tis a good one, isn't it? But I counted on something else. I counted on your wanting to believe in me, the way all your victims wanted to believe in you. Those poor women needed a confidant. And you, Mr. Lucas, needed an auditor whom you could bribe.
So, you worked on the same theory that I always used. That's funny. That's really funny.
Yes, isn't it? But you'll never put your theory into practice again, not with Phyllis, whom you will not marry, of course, or anyone else.
So we had to stop in to see you, Mr. Chameleon, Mrs. Newell and I. We both wanted to thank you.
Oh, yes. I'm so grateful. Miss Phyllis knows all about my son, and she still wants me to stay with her.
Well, why shouldn't she, Mrs. Newell? You're no criminal.
You know, Mr. Chameleon, you saved us both.
Well, that's what we cops are here for, aren't we? Remember that motto over my desk? Well, believe me, Miss Walters, we mean every word of it. The innocent must be protected. The guilty must be punished.
And with these words, Mr. Chameleon concludes tonight's murder case. The way that millions get amazingly fast relief from common headache, neuritic, or neuralgic pain is to take quick-acting Bayer aspirin. Bayer aspirin is one thing that really works, and works quickly, and you can see the reason why with your own eyes. Just drop a Bayer aspirin tablet in a glass of water and clock its disintegrating speed. Within 2 seconds, it will start to disintegrate, and because it does the same in your stomach, because it's ready to go to work almost instantly, relief comes with astonishing speed. In addition, you can take Bayer aspirin with complete confidence, for of all pain relievers, none can match its record of use by millions of normal people without ill effect. So when you buy, be sure to ask for genuine Bayer aspirin. Get the 100-tablet bottle, and you get Bayer aspirin tablets for less than a penny apiece. Listen next Wednesday night at this same time for Mr. Chameleon, the man of many faces, in the case of the Brownstone murder. The part of Mr. Chameleon is played by Carl Swenson, with dialogue by Marie Baumer, from the original story by Frank and Ann Hummert. Your announcer is Howard Claney.
Now, at last, you can get an utterly new, radically different, incredibly better toothpaste. It's revolutionary new Lion's toothpaste. And it's better because thousands of laboratory tests on scores of individual teeth show that it actually gets teeth brighter, 2.5 to 5.5 times brighter than any of the 5 leading brands. Brighter by far than any other toothpaste. New Lion's toothpaste does this because it's a new kind of toothpaste with a formula that's completely new, radically different. A toothpaste that cleans without soap, polishes without chalk. Try it. Buy Lion's toothpaste.
Mr. Chameleon, the new mystery drama, will be heard in its second performance next Wednesday night at this time. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.